One rule, no phones, 3 warnings, then the ride stops. That's the whole clip in a nutshell, and yes, the twins get asked off while a crowd looks on like they just watched a season finale.
Get off! Get. No, there won't be a refund on that though. We won't refund the fast pass.
You can hear the mood shift, a few cheers, a couple about time reactions, and that awkward silence people do when they realize they're watching somebody famous have a very regular person problem. The story is simple, put the phones away or you're off, and yet it hits way harder because of who they are and what their dad's dealing with right now. It's the perfect storm, a public policy everyone knows, a tiny moment of pushback, and faces people instantly recognize. Someone in that crowd clocked the situation, hit record, and surprise, now the footage is doing laps online. Whether it was sold to a tabloid or just passed around doesn't even matter. The point is the clip exists, it's clean, and it undercuts the carefully staged, everything's fine, family united vibe that's been pushed for months. And here's the part that stings. This wasn't some wild scandal. It was a basic rules thing. But because timing is everything, a routine hiccup turns into a headline. The internet isn't debating safety, it's debating optics. Are the kids rebellious, entitled, just being teens? Everyone has a take, and none of those takes help the current PR plan. So now the question isn't why were they removed, it's why did this land at the worst possible moment? And that takes us straight to the bigger issue, why this tiny clip packs a punch way beyond a theme park gate. Here's why that 30-second hiccup turned into a problem. The family brand is the defense. When your public story leans on solid household, tight circle, dad first, any wobble, even a theme park rule fight, looks bigger than it is. People aren't arguing safety rules, they're reading tea leaves. If the kids won't stash a phone after 3 warnings, the internet starts asking what else is slipping. Fair? Maybe not. Predictable? Absolutely. There's also timing, with court dates on the calendar and headlines stacked for months. The audience is primed to connect dots, even dots that don't touch. A routine policy moment becomes a referendum on parenting, control, and whether the PR machine still has gas. And once the crowd clocked who they were, the clip had a built-in amplifier. Fame is a megaphone. It doesn't whisper, it shouts. Then there's the expectation game. The current narrative needs tidy family optics, smiles, unity posts, carefully posed photos. This is the opposite. No meltdown, no chaos. Just a public reminder that image management is fragile. One random bystander hits record, and suddenly your everything's fine messaging is playing defense. So the reality is simple, a minor incident. The optics, not so much, which is why the family in court storyline matters even more than usual. And that's where this rolls next, how putting loved ones front row became the strategy, and why that choice cuts both ways. Courtrooms run on facts, sure, but juries are still human. Put family in the first row, and the message writes itself without a single word spoken. The daughter showed up, the cameras noticed, and headlines quietly did the rest. It wasn't subtle. The defense leaned into a simple theme. These are real kids with real stakes and a dad they don't want to lose. Commentators said the pitch landed because it didn't ask for legal acrobatics. It asked for empathy, and empathy is louder than any spreadsheet. That's why the everything's under control at home image matters so much right now. Family posts, group shots, nostalgic clips, call it PR, call it morale, call it both. The goal is to remind the public there's a household here, not a headline machine. So when a tiny theme park moment spills online, it clashes with the script. The ride video doesn't scream scandal, it just whispers cracks. And for a narrative built on steadiness, a whisper can feel like a shout. There's another layer, timing. With a sentencing date on the calendar, every photo, every quote, every stray camera phone becomes part of the same story, fair or not. The courtroom strategy banks on stability. The internet rewards disruption. That tug of war is why this clip stings. It doesn't disprove the family message, it distracts from it. And distraction is the one thing the defense can't cross-examine. So yes, the family on display play can work. It humanizes, it softens edges, but it also raises the stakes for every public moment, big or small. And while that theater plays out, a different case just turned social media into Exhibit A. This hearing wasn't about clicks, it was about a kid. The headline move came fast. The judge told both parents to keep their child off social media. No cute uploads, no stream cameos, no, just a quick pic. Reports say monitored visits are on the table too. Less about control, more about preventing cameras from turning family time into content. Prosecutors leaned on the online paper trail. They argued a recent ice cream outing looked staged for attention, and that the attention brings harassment to Halle. That's the argument, not a proven fact. The message, though, was simple. If your audience can dogpile, then your posts can be ammo. On the other side, DDG's team pushed back. He can't stop random phones in public, and he wants a clean schedule anyway. Saturdays, alternating Sundays, a midweek slot. Structure, not spectacle. There were courtroom ripples, too. Reports say DDG's mother had to step out, listed as a witness. And then the strategic delay talk started, the kind you hear when one side isn't thrilled with who's holding the gavel. Meanwhile, the date to watch is set, October 15th. That's when everyone finds out whether no posting stays temporary or becomes the new normal. The bigger takeaway isn't juicy, it's boring and it's brutal. Every upload is a receipt, and once a judge reads it, you don't get to delete, you get an order. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. Once a kid shows up on your feed, the court can show up in your feed too. Judges aren't anti-internet, they're anti-chaos. If posts trigger dog piles, threats, or even just non-stop noise, they start viewing the camera like a lighter near a gas leak. That's why no posting orders happen. It's not vibes, it's prevention. Parents who live online always say the same thing. It's harmless, it's just content, it's family. But the platform doesn't care. It runs on metrics, not context. A sweet clip can turn into a comment war in an hour, and now you've got screenshots walking straight into a courtroom as exhibits. You can't out-argue a timestamp. There's also the safety angle. Even if you never reveal a school or routine, strangers can stitch, map, and decode patterns from crumbs. Courts know this, so when one side says stop posting, they're not being dramatic, they're limiting ammo, less fuel, fewer fires. So yeah, the decision sounds strict. It's also smart, and if you're asking whether this is the new normal for influencer parents, short answer, yep, the internet doesn't forget, and judges are learning fast. Eve didn't have to include that story. She did anyway. In her memoir, she flat out says she linked up with Suge Knight back in the day, basically as payback during a rough patch with Dre. No coy wording, no PR polish, just this happened. And you can practically hear hip-hop Twitter dropping his phone. Is it messy? Oh, for sure. It's also rare. Most celeb books read like press releases with extra commas. This one coughs up a detail that actually explains the energy of that era. The label politics, the quiet beefs, the, oh, that's why you move like that moments. You don't need a documentary, you need 3 honest pages. And before anyone clutches pearls, she's married now, fully grown, and obviously cleared this at home. If transparency is the price of a real memoir, she paid it. The lesson lands clean. Tell the story that explains your choices, even if it makes the timeline squirm. That said, today's mess isn't in a book. It's in a boardroom, and the market just rolled its eyes. The headline reads simple, longtime CEO stepping down, sales sliding, investors not amused. Translation, the brand that once printed money in red and khaki is having a year. Leadership says fresh direction. The market hears uncertainty and does what it always does. Shrugs, then trims a few % off the stock and calls it a morning. Why does this matter in a culture drama video? Because it's the same playbook, perception versus proof. Customers cool off, analysts flinch, and suddenly a company that felt inevitable looks mortal. One memo, one earnings call, and you're explaining vibes to people who only speak numbers. Anyway, quick pulse checked. Back to the main story, where perception isn't just a stock price, it's a sentencing narrative and a custody calendar. The ride clip won't ruin anyone's life. It does something sneakier. It chips at the steady family picture, at the exact moment that picture is being used as a shield. Expect more micro moments like this, tiny, dumb, and wildly effective at shaping public mood. Because when the story is fragile, crumbs feel like bricks. For the custody case, the date to circle is October 15th. That's where we find out if no posting is a temporary timeout or a long-term rule. If the order sticks, you'll see less of the kid online and more of lawyers arguing what less actually means. If it loosens, expect instant tests of the line, pap sightings, fan clips, the whole circus. As for Diddy's situation, every week carries new pressure. The family's optics strategy only works if the public moments cooperate. If more stray clips pop up, the narrative keeps wobbling. If things go quiet, the defense gets room to breathe. Either way, phones are the wild card. They always are. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Is constant image control helping anyone here, or just giving the internet fresher targets? Drop your take, keep it respectful, and remember, the timeline loves receipts until a judge loves them more.